will start with saying that I'm the eldest of 7 siblings. And I grew up in a family that sort of wanted me to be the model of good behavior, the leader, a good leader of the pack. And because my family comes from a little barrio, my father, a school teacher, really wanted us to behave well, you know, that just because you come from this little town, you're going to be wayward. So he was very good at that, without preaching, of course, and he sort of instilled in us the value of good behavior. Lucky for them, because I wasn't a rebel, you know. I just towed the line, but I joyfully towed the line because it wasn't a mandate. It was he was a very good educator because he set up the context for all of that. So I enjoyed that, and then part of what he wanted us to have as a value was education. So he really did not push but encouraged us to say, whatever it is, at whatever level it is that you could have, to garner your highest degree, then we will support it. So I was very happy. I thought that everything was all set, and in mid-20s, I had 2 MAs already, you know, one from Ateneo, 2 MAs, I was a mama. So 2 MAs, one from here. I got a scholarship here. Father Joseph Galdon was the chair of the English department at that time, so he got me a scholarship here. And the other one was in the UK. So, and then it was like success followed me everywhere. I never had to apply for a job. I never had to apply. So everything was really like well planned. But then when I was restless, I thought now as I look back, I thought that it was a part of the cannonball. It was not the begin. It was just the beginning, but it was a part of it. So when I was restless, I was asking myself, why am I restless? And then I realized that I was restless for the inner life, And there was another scholarship that was offered for me. I said, no, I really have to go to the convent. So I said, going to the convent. So I went, and the novitiate was in Montalban that time. So it was, for me, it was like away from it all. It was like away from the comforts of family, from the you know, the little pleasures of having money with you on your own that you need, or the comforts of the successes of the job that the job could offer. So it was like I was stripped with it. But then I said to myself, I wanted the solitude, you know, I wanted the inner life. So there I learned how to pray. I really learned how to pray. And I said, but it was also then where I got exposed. I realized when I was in the convent that all along my life had been on this path which was governed by the intellectual life. I was very successful intellectually, academically, so it was governed by that. So I said to myself, maybe that's the reason why I was restless, because I was not whole, you know. So when I wanted to discover the inner life, I also, in the convent, it was lovely there. It was not like any other convent where it was not the kind of life that was shielded from what was happening in the world. I mean, you know, we laughed, we played, we did everything, but it was just away from the usual comforts. And then it was there where I realized that I had this just one side of life, one side of me that was being my pilot. My pilot in life was the academic life, the intellectual life. So when I was there, I had exposure to certain communities, you know, which I never had before. I had exposure to the community, the fisher folks in Malabon. I stayed there for like a couple of weeks, stayed with a family where we were all in one room for, you know, everything, and then there were pigs underneath you and so on and so forth. So I said to myself, I will try to endure it here. You know, I stayed for a week, and then after a while I said, I really, you know, so I just came back and forth that day. And then I I took care, well, not really took care, but I stayed with patients in the ward of the orthopedic hospital. And I'm so afraid of hospitals. I'm afraid of wounds and, you know, things like that. And the hospital is not, but I had to be friendly with that. And for me, that was really good that I did that. And then in Montalban, where the convent was, we were exposed to children in depressed areas and so on and so forth. So for me, it was an education of the heart. And I felt that I needed that. And through all of this and living in community, I had to confront myself. I had to confront my affective self. The different negative emotions of hurt, of anger, of misery, of all of this, you know. And then in the end, compassion. And then I realized that that's true. If I had to have a relationship with the transcendence, with my God, I needed to know who I was. I needed to know myself, not just the successful intellectual person that I was. I needed to know what else there was in the heart. And so it was for me a real education of the heart. And then, you know, through that experience, I felt, oh, this is what it means to be human, you know. But there was something in me that wanted to leave that as well. You know, I couldn't understand it. You know, the passage, the Isaiah 53, was a passage that sent me to the convent and sent me out of it as well. It's like, do not be afraid, for I am with you. I have called you by name, you are mine. I always go back to that. But it has a different meaning every time, so that's why I went in. But I also got out of it. And so I said, what is it? After a year-long discernment, I realized I wanted to take a leave from the convent. So I asked to leave, and people, they were saying, why are you doing that? So, but I said, I'll just leave. If it is for me, I will go back. I can go back to novitiate. You know, I didn't want the half here and half there. So I left. Well, I said to them I was going to leave. And on that day, that was a Friday, I said, can I go to Ateneo? Can I go back there for a while? I had to tell Father Galdon that I left, you know. So it was in the English department. I went to the English department. He said to me, why are you here? I said, Father Galdon, I left. He said, what do you mean? I said, I left the convent. And then he said, so you left the convent? That's not the end of the world. He said to me, don't sit down, don't mope and dope. Go find a job. I said, where? And he said, go, I don't know, go find a job, he said to me. But I said, no, I'll stay here behind. I'll talk to my friends in the English department. Before the end of the day, he said to me, you come. Do you want a job? I said, yes. That was in the middle of the semester. It was in September. You want a job? I said, yes, Father, I want a job. But, you know, I mean, there's no job for me now because this is the middle of the semester. And I said, I'm waiting for the second sem. He said, no, you want a job? Here. Here's the book. I said, what do you mean? He said, teach Monday morning, 7:30. I said, what? I said, what? Teach Monday morning? What am I going to teach? He said, English 11. I said, no, Father, I'm not ready. My things are still in the convent. And he said to me, you are ready. You've taught this before. Teach. Here's the book. Monday morning at 7:30. So there was no way I could say no to it. He said, you come Monday morning. We need a teacher. The teacher for that course has a family emergency, and he was a substitute for the entire semester.
What a coincidence.
So I said, okay, I'm going home, I'm going back. So I went to the convent back in Montalban, you know, and I said to them, I got a job. I got a job. I have to teach on Monday morning, 7:30. All my things were still there. And so I had to leave from there for an entire week. I was in the convent and I was teaching here. It was weird because I had no time to pack my things and go. So I got into the Ateneo, back in the Ateneo because I was here before I went to the convent. And then, so I was trying to find out what was the meaning of all of that, you know, that kind of restlessness. And then I realized that maybe that was my Nazareth there. That was, I had to be formed in that for the kind of work that I'm doing right now. So I came out of the convent. The thing was that when I came out of the convent, I had to find a job, I had to find a place where I stayed. But before that, all of these were following me. I didn't have to apply, but this time. So I said, but this time I was ready for that. I was ready for that because I was a whole person. I felt I was a whole person. I knew how to pray. It was there. It was not in the convent. So I had to be this in the world, you know. And so I thought, if I have to be in the ministry of education, I had to be educated myself. If I have to be in the ministry of education that wants to form people, not just intellectually, but also, you know, the total person, I had to undergo it myself. So now I realize, yeah, I think that was it, you know. And I'm happy about where I am. And I thought that being in the convent was grace-filled. I did not leave because I was asked to leave. I mean, I did not leave because I had a problem there. Nothing at all. That's why it was so difficult to leave, because the people there I knew. And then the spirituality of the religions of the Sacred Heart is Ignatian. So I was steeped in this Ignatian spirituality even there. It was like an incremental kind of, it was in the convent there were lots of cannonballs, you know, meant to be able to realize that I was like this, and I couldn't accept the fact that I could get angry. You know, that anger was, I label it as a bad thing, but I need to have indignation, I need to have anger, to be able to look at what's happening, for example, and to get exposure to all of this and to say, what's happening here? Why are you know, things like that. So, but I'm happy that I'm able to recognize that now I know more realistically who I am. I know more realistically what my strengths are, what my weaknesses are, and then I'm not, you know, I don't hide such things. I'm able to say, I need this and I want it, and I need this one, and so I need help, which is a very important thing to do.